Now we are getting into the meat of the book, The Guide for the Perplexed. And let's talk about the concept of incorporeality of God, because this is like the the main theme in the throughout the book. Like is the main. It's one of not really the. It's not only this, but it's like one of the one, two, three issues that Maimonides is trying to prove or is trying to teach about. Now, um, as a growing up as a Christian, I don't know where this came from. It could be the environment or how religion was being taught. And I had this image whenever God was mentioned, there was this image of an old man with a gray beard. And I know many people have that image in their head. And it could be maybe the books that were you read, and there was these images of God and Jesus, and they have yeah, and God was or maybe still is. I guess that content is still out there, represented as or presented as an old man. So in basic terms, we have so many people who have bought this idea that God is corporeal, and what that means is that God has a body like that of a human, is made of substance and has form, and the form is that of a human being, like we are like God, and that also is mostly comes from even the Bible itself. And I have another video talking about how we read the Bible, and sometimes, according to Maimonides, we get it wrong. And in particular, there is this verse in Genesis, I think, that says that God made us in His own image, and out of that, we came up with this understanding that God must be like us. But just to this is what Maimonides says about that particular verse. And he says that when God says that let's make man in our own, the Hebrew word is zelem, he says that if you read it carefully or according to his own understanding, it means man is going to be similar to God, and this refers to the divine intellect. So which man has been endowed with. It's not really the physical form that is being referred to. That's according to Maimonides. Other people might have different understanding of what that really means, but he means that's what he reads out of that text. So which concludes that God, according to him, doesn't have a corporeal body. So God is incorporeal, which means he has no substance, he has no form. Maybe God is just energy, or an intelligent energy or force. So something like that, but not really a form that we can be like, this is how God looks. Maimonides says, in fact, he says that only ignorant people believe that God is corporeal, that people who are a little bit knowledgeable, there's no way they will ever believe that God is like has a body, maybe a body like that of a human being. And he says to assume that God is corporeal or that he has any properties or to ascribe to him any attributes is a sin bordering idolatry. So according to Maimonides, it's not just wrong to think that God is corporeal or has a form and a substance like that of a human or of any other kind. In fact, it's not just wrong, but he says that is a sin. But he tries also to explain why do we, or majority of us, tend to think that God is corporeal or God has substance and form, and and even more that God has a form like that, a physical form like that of us humans. I've explained about the first, but he says that God exists was therefore shown to ordinary men by means of similes taken from the physical bodies. That he is living by a simile taken from motion, because ordinary men consider only the body as fully, truly, and undoubtedly existing. That is that which is connected with body. And he says This belief or image came from an attempt by those who understood better to try to make humans appreciate God. And that happened because for us humans, it is easy for us to understand, for example, motion or ability in terms of motion and doing things. And for us to do things comes with having hands, and seeing things means having eyes, hearing things means having ears. So for us, it's easy for us to understand the ability of God by ascribing those abilities we think are necessary, like hearing and seeing, and then we assume because he hears, then it means he must have ears. If he sees, then it means he must have eyes. He has this understanding. He does things, then means he must have hands, and he created, then means he must have hands. But he says the perception by senses, especially by hearing and seeing, is best known to us. We have no idea or notion of any other mode of communication between the soul of one person and that of another, other than by speaking. So for us, that's what we know. That's where that bias, part of that bias comes from. And it says, since we perform all these actions only by means of corporeal organs, we figuratively ascribe to God the organs of locomotion as feet and their souls and organs and hearing and seeing and smelling and all these things. We then just assume that God must have those. But when you read the book, what Maimonides tries to make us understand is that God has an existence that is beyond our ability to comprehend. And in fact, that's why he encourages us to avoid describing God with positives. And I have another video where I'm talking about that specific topic. Because when we describe God through positives, he says we are likely to make mistakes. And that's how we end up thinking of God as corporeal. While he is likely, or according to his argument, logical arguments, God cannot be corporeal. God is incorporeal.